Hello, we have just released an alpha version of XCAD 0.8, which is a free and open source cross-CAD development platform for developing your applications for CAD, such as SOLIDWORKS, SOLIDWORKS Document Manager, etc. In this video demonstration, I will show you how to build your SOLIDWORKS add-in in .NET 6 from scratch using xcad.net. In order to properly register SOLIDWORKS add-in, it is required to have administrative privileges to do so. So, to simplify the debugging process, I recommend running your Visual Studio as administrator, so you can debug your add-in directly from Visual Studio. For that, you just need to right mouse button, click on the Visual Studio icon and select Run as Administrator. SOLIDWORKS add-ins are DLL class libraries. Let's start and create new project. We need to select the class library as a project type. For that, we can just select our filters to be C# and library and find class library here. Click on Next. We can specify the name of our project and the location where we want to save our add-in. In this demonstration, we're going to use .NET 6, so we're going to select this framework as a target framework for our project. Click on Create, and Visual Studio will create a scaffolding for our C# .NET 6 project. Now let's connect xcad.net into our project. It is pretty simple to do via NuGet Manager. So simply search for xcad and select SOLIDWORKS implementation of xcad.net. Current public version of xcad.net at version 0.7.12 does not explicitly support .NET 6. This support is enabled in the next version of xcad.net, which is currently in alpha testing period. In order to access alpha version, we simply need to check Include Pre-release checkbox in our NuGet Package Manager. And now you can see we have an access to 0.8.0 version of xcad.net in alpha version. Let's install it. This will download all necessary files into your project, including the SOLIDWORKS interrupts. In the appeared README file, you can see some instruction of how to get started with an add-in. We're going to close this file for now and start from scratch. So first step to do is we need to specify the target operating system. Despite .NET 6 is cross-platform, SOLIDWORKS itself is not a cross-platform. If you're using SOLIDWORKS or SOLIDWORKS Document Manager implementation of xcad.net, it is required to explicitly specify Windows as a target operating system. Now let's customize our class. So first I just want to rename it to something more user-friendly. So let's call it my sample SOLIDWORKS add-in. And here I need to inherit from SW add-in X, which is coming from xcad.net framework. So I need to import the corresponding namespace. And I also need to apply two attributes to my class. First I need to apply a COM-visible attribute. So this class is visible for COM. This is a prerequisite by SOLIDWORKS to make that add-in visible to SOLIDWORKS itself. And we also need to apply GUID. Please note that you have to apply GUID in .NET 6. It was optional in .NET Framework. So I'm just going to use GUID generation tool from Visual Studio to generate a unique identifier. Now I simply want to show a message box "Hello World" when our add-in is loading into SOLIDWORKS. So for that, I'm just going to use show message box method from application class and type on "Hello World." Let's build the project. There is one more step is missing in our project setup, and xcad.net will display an error explaining how to fix that problem. We only need to add enable com hosting attribute into our project to properly register this add-in as com host so it can be loaded into SOLIDWORKS. For that, let's just unload project, click on edit project file, and just type enable com hosting attribute and set its value to true. Now we can save and reload our project, and now we should be able to build our project and properly register our SOLIDWORKS add-in. So you can see that it was successfully built and SOLIDWORKS add-in has been registered. When starting SOLIDWORKS, you can see that our message box is displayed directly on add-in loading, and I should point your attention the name of the add-in will correspond to the name of the class by default. We can change this behavior. So firstly, let's add a couple of attributes here. So first one is a title, and this attribute allows you to assign the user-friendly name of your add-in. So let's call it something like sample SOLIDWORKS add-in. We can also optionally use description attribute if you want to assign the tooltip of our add-in. So now let's just modify behavior of the add-in, and instead of showing the message box directly on start, let's add the command manager with the command button. So when the user clicks that button, message box is displayed. For that, I need to firstly declare the enumeration, and I can also use the title attributes to provide the name of our command group, and title attribute to provide the title of our command itself. The description attribute would allow me to add a hint text string to our command. In order to register this command in our SOLIDWORKS menu, we need to call add command group method and pass the enumeration as a template parameter of this command. The returned value here will be a command group which has two events, one for configure the state of our button and another one to handle the command click. So for that, let's click on command click event and provide a handler for that. And here we have a parameter called spec, which will correspond to the button clicked in your command group, because you can have many buttons in your command. So here we can just use a switch command to find which button was clicked, and if it's a hello world, you just have just one button here, but later you can add more. You're just going to show the message box similarly to the message which was displayed when our add-in was starting. Finally, I want to assign a custom icon to our button, and it is very simple to do with xcard.net. You can just use any PNG file of any size with a transparent background. We just need to add this PNG file into our resources. I'm just going to browse that file, and I'm going to use the title attribute directly on our command button to link that image to our command. So I'm just going to use icon. I'm just going to use overloaded constructor. So first I need to specify the type of our resources. So I just use a type of keyword and just use resources here. And here I'm just going to use name of keyword to provide the name of our resources we want to use an icon. So it's going to be this puzzle icon resource. Now let's put a couple of breakpoints. And before we go into start SOLIDWORKS, I want to show you how you can attach directly to the process from Visual Studio, so you don't need to start SOLIDWORKS. We need to create a new executable profile. We can give it a name. So for example, in this case, I'm just going to attach to SOLIDWORKS 2023. You can use many profiles to, for example, attach on different versions of SOLIDWORKS. And here I simply need to browse the executable of SOLIDWORKS, which is sldworks.exe. When I close this dialog, the created profile appeared in my dropdown, so I can simply click on green tick to run it directly from my Visual Studio, or just click F5 to run the default profile. So this will trigger SOLIDWORKS to start, and my Visual Studio will automatically attach to that process. So you can see the breakpoint I set within the onConnect function has been hit, and I can just inspect the variables. Let's click on F5 to continue loading our add-in. In our SOLIDWORKS, you should be able to see the menu, and icon I specified is displayed. When I click on that icon, you can see that this onCommandClick function is called, and my message box is displayed. In order to unregister add-in, you simply need to clean your solution. So you can see the unregistering SOLIDWORKS add-in message is displayed, which means that your add-in has been successfully unregistered from SOLIDWORKS. Thank you for watching this video.